and one of the senior-most brain surgeons of the city, who's been a debating stalwart and a debating partner of myself for decades, Dr. Sandip Chatterjee.
Talking about time, I heard this story about two priests whose arguments were really weak and they still had to preach. And one said, "My argument is so weak, I never stop when my time is up. I continue." And he said, "How long do you continue?" The other one asked. And he said, "I continue till I find people looking at their watches." The other said, "When the argument is weaker, I carry on even more when they look at their watches." And he said, "When do you stop?" He said, "When they take their watches off their wrist, hold it against their ear and shake it to see was it working." And so, Mr. Chairman, sir, ladies and gentlemen, we've had two examples of two priests who waited for you to look at your watches and hang it next to your ear, so you can well understand how strong their argument must be. Is the press so oppressed that they need to prostrate themselves to please rather than to present? Suppressed, oppressed, or depressed they may be, but their job is to present. And it is through the medium of presentation that they may seek to please or displease. Presenting is the primary aim of journalism.
I think when you scratch the surface of any of the members of the Calcutta debate circle, you find a Renaissance man or woman. And I think this was incredibly true for Dr. Sandip Chatterjee. Not only was he a famed neurosurgeon, but also a poet and a wildlife photographer, as well as a debater. And I think debate creates a home for all of us who are full of all of these interests and this joy in discovery of the world. And it's always wonderful to find your people who want to do this. I also think one of the things that was so impressive about Dr. Chatterjee was being in this position of being a famed neurosurgeon and not being content, but seeing all of the problems with public discourse and the way that people had conversations and recognizing the importance of debate and taking his time to be part of the group that set up the CDC. And for me, that sends such a powerful message that debate is something that everybody should be interested in. And he set such a powerful precedent, not just within Calcutta or India, but something that should be recognized globally.
And it is a wonderful thing that Dr. Chatterjee gave up so much of his valuable time to invest in the CDC and in debating. And he really shared an idea that we also both hold very strongly, that what's wonderful about debating as well is it brings together different people from different walks of life with different ideas and different experiences. And it encourages them not just to accept the world as they see it, but to think about it, to debate it, and to try to make it a better place. And so much of Dr. Chatterjee's work really has helped that to happen.
He will be sorely missed by friends, family, and everyone within the debating community at large.
The news of Dr. Chatterjee's untimely demise hit me harder than any debating rebuttal ever could. He was someone with a natural flair for debating, an extremely passionate debater whom all of us looked up to. I remember the very first time I interacted with him was the 2022 state level championship. The debate was on Marx versus character, and he, in his original style, came up with a simple line that Marx deal with answering questions, but character is all about questioning answers. That's a line that I fondly remember, and his original style, which involves wit, humor, and true enthusiasm, is something that all of us will always be inspired by. I hope that we as budding debaters can carry on his legacy.
The earliest memory I have of Sandip sir is him as the moderator of the first state championship that I had participated in. From the very first day, it struck me how beautifully he could speak on anything, not just on emotion or on something which he wanted to present logically, on anything, and how humble a person he was, how affectionate he was, and how encouraged we felt around him. Him passing away is actually, I don't know, came as a shock to all of us. Me, Moinak, the people who, met him at perhaps the first debates of our life, and the imprint of him speaking as a debater, the amount of inspiration we derived from him as a debater will always remain with us wherever we go. May his soul rest in peace.
Hello, my name is Ram Daftari. I will always remember Dr. S. Chatterjee as one of the best debaters I ever came across. He had the unique skill of delivering amazing arguments while keeping the entire audience engaged with his humor, and he could deliver sharp rebuttals to his opponents without offending them. However, the one thing he was the most passionate about was bringing in young people into debating and making them feel comfortable. When I was 16, I was a Q panelist at the Calcutta debate, asking questions to the parliamentarians there. After the debate, when refreshments were served, I was ready to escape because I thought I had no stature among these people. However, he ensured that I stayed for a bit longer and interacted with everyone there. This clearly made me understand for the first time that at a debate, everyone is an equal and only their arguments matter. That is what he stood for. Thank you, Dr. Chatterjee.
Dr. Sandip Chatterjee was oratory embodied, he was wit exemplified. I remember my first interaction with Dr. Chatterjee. It was at a debate that he was moderating and in which I was a participant, and we had all stepped out for lunch break. He came and struck up a conversation with a few of us debaters. Now, I was very intimidated because just a few hours earlier, Mr. Guptu had told us that he was a brain surgeon without a heart. Now, after telling us that he had not read literature, he does not read literature frequently, and he had read Shakespeare in his younger days, he asked us which Shakespearean text we are studying. And when we told him it was Merchant of Venice, he proceeded to recite verses and speeches from it perfectly, as if he had read it yesterday. And that was just one of the instances when Dr. Chatterjee's immense knowledge, his intelligence, and of course his presence of mind amazed everyone. But the most remarkable thing about Dr. Chatterjee was the fact that despite being a man of such eminence, he was always approachable. He was always encouraging towards the young debaters of the city. And I hope that some of us can carry forward some of the rich legacy that Dr. Chatterjee has left in the art and the science of debating, as he called it.
Dr. Chatterjee was a neurosurgeon and a debater and embodied the absolute best of both. But to us budding debaters in Calcutta, he was so much more. He was nothing short of an idol, someone whom we aspired to be someday with a ton of effort. The only thing I remember about Sir's speeches is the absolute elegance with which he flowed from argument to argument. His wit and humor were absolutely inspired. In fact, I remember there was this one particular debate which debated from the original line of thought and became a very state versus central debate. And Sir brought it back to the original line of thought by mentioning this humorous analogy where he said that if the central is considered as the mother-in-law of the household and the state be considered as one of the daughters, then in that case it is the husband, or in other words the general public, who faces the pressure and the misinformation from both sides of the house and thereby falls a victim to the entire situation, right? The main point being that for each and every one of us in this video, debating is so much more than just an extracurricular activity. It is a passion. And the very core of this love that we feel towards debating has been made by Sir. Which is why every time that I think of him, all I do is smile. Because I realize that from now on, whenever we speak at a major tournament, whether we address a public gathering or even if we are conversing with someone even, it won't just be us speaking through the skills that we learned over the years. It will be the Dr. Chatterjee in all of us speaking out against the norm and always for the cause. On behalf of everyone from West Bengal, outside West Bengal, around the
On behalf of the Calcutta Debating Circle, as one of its founder trustees, I have been asked to speak to you about debating. Well, debating is the science of analysis combined with the art of expression. We know that debates existed in the time of Plato and Aristotle in ancient Greece. In this country, the longest debate, the longest answer to a simple vexing question is contained in our own Bhagavad Gita, where Hamlet would have addressed the question as, to fight or not to fight, that is the question. Debate is about logical thoughts, interlaced and punctuated with thoughtful illustrations. Hence, you have to question the answers as well as answer the questions. For if you have to prove the grass is greener on your side, then you either have to prove that the color of the grass is truly green on your side, or at least that it is brown on the other side. Yet, amidst all these discords and disagreements, we debaters follow a protocol of politeness. Hence, debating is about making a point without making an enemy. It is about trampling arguments without treading on people's toes. We used to say before that we follow the parliamentary style of debating. We now tell our parliamentarians to follow our debating principles. Because debating is not only about listening, it is about hearing. And believe me, from a professor of neurosurgery, that for hearing you require your brain. For listening, the ears are enough. But remember, I always say that debating is about verbal violence without physical rage. It is about dissecting arguments without resecting the arguer. It's about assailing the message without assaulting the messenger. Remember, in debating, you are speaking to influence rather than influencing to speak. Indeed, in a democracy, Debating is the main freedom of reasoning. Though here in the world's largest democracy, to the two traditional types of reasoning, which is deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning, we have added a new dimension, which we call political reasoning. But hopefully, you will steer clear of that type of reasoning in the debates that ensue. So the Calcutta Debating Circle welcomes, teaches, and encourages complete freedom of speech, combined with a controlled rule of expression within an allocated time frame decided by the man or woman with the bell to finish making your point. That is what debating is all about.
I think this is one of the most unimaginable thing that I've been doing now, and it's with a heavy heart that I record this when Pradeep uncle, when Mr. Pradeep Gupta first asked me to send me this 2-3 minute video clip in the memory of Dr. Sandip Chatterjee. My impression of him was, when you send a hungry child to a kebab shop and on the way he meets Dr. Chatterjee, he suddenly changes his attire in such a way that he's up for fine dining. I think that amount of finesse was always portrayed by Dr. Chatterjee. Sandip uncle not only instilled in us the art of the language of English while using it in debating, but I think from a very young point when I met him, he also inspired me in terms of the surgical career that I'm pursuing. I was thrilled by him with the amount of debating and amount of encyclopedic knowledge he had, as well as his contribution to the Calcutta Debating Circle, and in terms specifically of the surgical field, where he was one of the leading pioneers of microsurgery in terms of neurosurgical practice that he used to do. It would be hard to imagine Calcutta Debating Circle without Dr. Chatterjee in the upcoming future, as well as till we serve Calcutta Debating Circle until the rest of our lives. And not having him around in these events is like something I cannot imagine. I've seen him there actively fiercing through his humor, witty sense of words, and this finesse that we always portrayed. So it's a great loss for us as a whole fraternity, both in terms of Calcutta Debating Circle's managing trustee, as well as our medical fraternity. I hereby also request Calcutta Debating Circle and our current core committee and managing trustee board as well, so that the winter debate that we have every year, maybe we should also consider of naming it as the Dr. Sandip Chatterjee Memorial Debate once in a year. I look forward to these events in the future, and definitely there would be a lacuna created by Dr. Chatterjee, which cannot ever be fulfilled by anyone else.